Let's talk about the 4 basic management functions. These are planning, organizing, leading, and controlling. And we're going to cover these in 3 different steps. We're going to go over the very general, get a little bit more specific, zoom in on them, and then we'll go into great detail. So let's do the foundations. First, the 4 basic management functions. They are planning, organization, leading, and controlling. So we start here. First is planning, organizing, leading and motivating, controlling. And you notice this arrow down here? It comes back here. So we use what we find out in the controlling to come back here and improve our planning. And over time, this should cause the company, the organization to improve. It is not a one-time thing. It is a continuous, ongoing thing. So here's the zoom in on it. First, we have planning. So here is where we are, and we'll cover these 2. So planning, set objectives, state the mission. So do we want profit? Do we want to increase revenue? Do we want to lower expenses? Do we want to improve sales? What are our goals? We set goals. We examine alternatives. Are we going to make the screws we're using, or are we going to buy them? Determine the resources needed. So human resources, factors of production. Are we going to have to take out loans? Where is money coming from? We make strategies to reach the objectives. So are we going to expand sales? Are we going to expand manufacturing? Are we going to automate manufacturing? What are we going to do? We set performance standards. We're going to reach goal A in 2 months, goal B in 6 months, and so forth. So there are 4 subparts we will discuss in the max detail section. These are the 4 over here. Organizing. We design jobs. We specify the tasks and skills. Do we need welders? Do we need sales reps? Do we need clerks? Do we need more accountants? Then we design the organizational structure. So who reports to whom? In our case, the worker is going to report to the supervisor to the manager to the owner. And then we're going to have a job description for each one of those. It doesn't have to be 400 pages long, just like a page long. Then we're going to have to hire. Then we're going to coordinate work activities. So this is all part of organizing. So for example, engineering and sales. Sales needs to know what they're selling, and engineering is the source of that information. So those 2 have to work together. Set policies and procedures. Who's going to do what? When are they going to do it? And how are they going to do it? And then allocate the resources. Those are the factors of production. Who needs money? Who needs steel? All that stuff. Leading. So we need to lead and motivate to reach goals. There's another video on this. Communicate both internally and externally. So people inside the company need to know what's happening. And also externally, that includes investors, and it could include people around your factory if you're going to be making noise or expanding. Resolve conflicts. So these are human resource conflicts. These are hard resource conflicts. And this is both internal and external. So this could be between departments, or it could be over the use of land and maybe the government. Yes, restrictions on the use of your land. Management change and issues. So is there new technology? Are there competitors, customer needs, and what other resources? So these are all part of leading. Note that the word leading is not a substitute for managing. It is a part of it. A lot of companies now say we have leaders, we don't have managers. Nonsense. Again, I won't invest in a company that says we have leaders, not managers. Controlling. Okay, so we measure performance, and preferably objective measurements. We compare actual performance to standards. So what actually happened versus what did we plan to have happen. And then we take action to align those 2 things. We make sure that the actual is meeting what we planned, and if not, we act as necessary. If done well, these lead to organizational efficiency, so we get the most output for the least amount of input, and effectiveness, we get the job done. So we attain our mission and we reach our objectives. This is the max detail on these 4. First is planning. Definition, process of deciding what needs to be done to achieve organizational objectives. It's identifying when and how it will be done and determining by whom it should be done. So planning is usually cut into 4 different types, and we'll go into details on each of these, but it's strategic, tactical, operational, and contingency. Strategic planning. The formal definition is establishing an organization's major goals and allocate resources to achieve them. If you're a manager and you're going to take over a project, the first thing you do is you look at the plan and you see if there's a budget item behind it, because if there's no dollars there, it's not real. Planning goal. End result an organization is to achieve over a number of years. There's usually a mission statement, which we'll talk about later. The time frame on these are 1 to 5 years, sometimes longer. Japanese companies will go 100 years. The who does it? Well, top management, CEO, CXXs, VPs, presidents. So where is it coming from? It's based on external environment. So it's outside the company, is influencing what the plan is, plus the whole organization, everything inside. The why is to establish a mission, to make long-term goals, to understand what resources are going to be needed. The what, it's broad and general content. So for example, they will say, we need to prepare for a downturn. That'll be part of the plan. The risk is a high degree of uncertainty, because the longer out you look, the less sure you are of things. And these will be implemented at lower levels. So for example, one part of the plan might be to achieve continuous improvement in our cost structures to total 10%. And the people below will be tasked with figuring out how to make that happen. As part of strategic planning, there's oftentimes what's called mission statements. These are a formal written document that states an organization's purpose and reason for existing and describes its basic philosophy. So it's a long-term planning item. For example, Ben & Jerry's, we all know Ben & Jerry's ice cream. Their past product mission was to make, distribute, and sell the finest quality, all-natural ice cream and euphoric concoctions with a continued commitment to incorporating wholesome, natural ingredients, promoting business practices that respect the earth and environment. So what they're doing is they're staking their reputation. They are saying, this is who we are. This is what you can expect us to do. Now, the downside of this is when you fail to meet those, people take it badly. These are reputations. You are creating a reputation for yourself. And it should be done carefully, and it should be done realistically. Not some pie in the sky that you're not going to meet, because when you don't meet it, you will disappoint people. That's a bad thing. This is their past economic mission, to operate the company on a sustainable financial basis of profitable growth, increasing wealth for our investors, value for our stakeholders, with opportunities for employee development and career growth. Okay? And then they have a social mission, which I won't read through, but yes, these are saying this is who we are and this is what you can expect from us. So, tactical planning. We're still in the planning area. Let's move on to tactical. Definition involves breaking down a long-term strategic plan into smaller, more detailed, actionable plans over shorter time frames. Actionable is a key word. It's needed because the strategic plans operate over very long terms, and you need stuff that you can actually do. You cannot just say, yes, we're going to grow 10% over the next 10 years. That's too general. You need things that you can do to make that 10% happen. When does this happen? The time frame. This is often year by year. It's just implementation of the strategic plans that upper management is given. Who does it? This is middle management. It's created based on strategic plan, as I just said. Where is it from? It's from the strategic business units. So, for example, North America operations says we need this. Asia Pac says we need that. Division ABC wants more people, something like that. It could be done by state or by region. So the why of this is to establish a mid-range scheduled goals for implementation. These are time frames. These are things you can execute to, and you can see if you're on track or not. It is more specific content about how to implement the strategic plan. The risk is moderate. It is less than strategic because it's shorter term and you have a better grasp on what's going to happen. So for example, if the firm's strategic plan is to increase market share by 20% and they're going to invest X dollars to get there, then the tactical plan may focus on increasing sales in specific regions that have less competition. So we may say, okay, the Northeast region has less competition. We're going to focus on building that up because it's going to be low-hanging fruit. Operational planning. The definition is creating specific standards, methods, policies, and practices that are used in specific functional areas where the things really happen. This is where the company really makes stuff: manufacturing, accounting, sales of the organization. And it directs and controls the implementation of tactical plans. The when is current time frame. So this is the right now. This is making stuff happen right now. Supervisory management creates it. So first or lowest level. It covers geographical and functional divisions. It is needed to implement the boss's specific objectives. So whether it's 10% growth or whatever, getting stuff out on time, whatever that goal is. It is specific, concrete, and resource content. So it is factual stuff. The risk is low, and there's a reasonable degree of certainty because this is happening today, tomorrow, next week. And an example, if the tactical plan is to increase sales in the regions with less competition, then an operational plan might include increasing the advertising budgets by a certain number of dollars and moving more sales people to those areas. Contingency planning, the formal definition is it identifies alternative courses of action for unusual or crisis situations. It can also be good things. That's, again, the formal definition leaves that out, and most of them do. It could be something like the collapse of a competitor, and that would be a good thing, but it's an unusual situation. It could be war, disaster, flood, earthquake, tornado, UK Brexit, trade embargoes, trade wars, Google breakup, failing plans inside your own company. And typically this covers what manager is going to lead or managers, what are the operating procedures during this time, what communication channels are going to be used, etc. during these unusual times. The when, I cannot stress enough that this has to be in position before the event, because during the event you're not going to have time. The plan needs to call for who's going to manage the event. Again, it can be good or bad events. The who that comes up with a plan is going to be top or middle management. Where is the information going to come from? Well, it's going to be the external environment typically. And across the entire organization, people are going to start giving heads up. Hey, I see something's wrong with our competitor, or I see prices are starting to increase from Asia, something like that. It's to meet unforeseen challenges and opportunities. And it is a reasonable degree of certainty in a general sense because you know in bad cases what should be happening, like from the top down, and in good cases, ditto. So this diagram shows us how these plans are interrelated. So let's start over here on the left side of the chart. This is long-term planning, it's a mission statement, strategic plan, etc. It feeds into the tactical planning. So these are the goals for next year, so on and so forth. And then this is the operational planning, and it is to set a business plan day by day, as we discussed. And contingency planning kind of sits outside the regular plans, and this is kind of a break glass in case of emergency type thing. As an example, this is a little softer example. It's more typical rather than end of the world type things. So we have long-term planning. We're going to grow our men's sales business, shirts business, and then we're going to expand into women's. We're going to see how that goes. Our tactical plan is to use the current skills to enter the women's shirts market. And then our operational planning is we're going to hire employees to work a night shift to utilize the same machines that we're using during the day. And if that does not work, then here's the break the glass situation. If the women's shirts fail, we're going to use the night shift to make men's pants. Let's look at the decisions that each management level makes so you'll have a better understanding of where these decisions come from. Top management, the CEO is asking themselves questions like, should we buy a competitor? Would that be a good strategic move? Should we IPO? That means do an initial stock offering, or go public, take our company from private to public. Should we enter a new business? Would that be a good decision? The CFO will be asking themselves questions like, how am I supposed to finance these things that my boss wants to do? Am I going to issue stock? Am I going to go get a loan? Do I use profits? The VP of marketing is going to be asking themselves, do I change my pricing plan to match competitors to get more profits? Do I redistribute my ad budgets to other regions to, again, make more revenues to finance these things up here? Do I add a new sales channel? Middle management is looking at things like optimizing a plant machinery layout. So if you're in manufacturing, that would be very important to get the optimal flow through your plant. Do I automate processes? And if so, which ones? The middle level sales manager will be asking themselves questions like, do I shift reps from one region to another one that's struggling? Do I revamp the compensation plan to more motivate my salespeople? Do I go on less salary but maybe higher commissions? So then there's supervisory management, and they're asking themselves questions like, do I need to uptrain assembly line workers? Do I need them to have a better understanding? Will it help them operate faster while I get fewer dropouts off the assembly line? Should they be listening in to support calls? That means the supervisor. Should they be listening into support calls? All of us are now getting these little questionnaires when we call in for support from a company, and we're asked, like, did this call go well? Were you satisfied with the results? Things like that. So the supervisor will be looking at things like that. Account managers, how do I deal with a slow pay customer? Yeah, do I go out and visit them in person and ask them for the money? How to deal with out of contract requests from customers. So customer, you may have a big contract with the customer. The customer says, I need you to change the specifications on the contract, and the account manager needs to decide how to deal with that. Do they go back to engineering and ask for a small change, or is it a big change and they have to go back and ask top management? Organizing, which is the second key management function, so we've stepped down here now. The definition is the process of coordinating and allocating a firm's resources to carry out its plans. So the first thing is to identify the work. So an organization identifies skills that has to be done. You want to avoid unnecessary duplication. You do not want miscommunication between the groups. You don't want a waste of time. The next is you group the work. So you want a smooth workflow. You want things to move from one group to another. So similar groups are grouped together, similar activities rather are grouped together. So departments, you may look at accounting, sales, manufacturing, and group those together under one manager. Divisions, you may have oil, gas, and pipeline. You may separate those, you may group those as one. You may have teams that are operating as groups. So audit, IT support may operate as under one manager. You establish a hierarchy. So vertical and horizontal, we'll talk about that in a bit, and how the reporting relationships work for all employees. So a vertical is boss to employee, who reports to whom, and horizontal is group to group. So it could be legal and contracts. So the contracts administration group needs to talk to the law office. So you could define a contact point in each of those that can talk together. Not everybody in one group should be talking to everybody in another group. That leads to chaos. Delegation of authority. Managers are assigned specific duties and responsibilities and must have the authority to carry out those duties. If you give somebody responsibility without the authority to do it, it's a disaster. So what is authority? Okay, it's an employee's right to act on their wishes and expect obedience from others. And when I say their wishes, they're wishes that are in line with the company's needs. So yeah, I just said this a different way, but duties without authority to carry them out is just amateurish, and it's disastrous. I've seen it happen when upper management tries to keep too much authority and they do not give enough to their underlings to get the job done. Coordination. Managers must ensure well-coordinated activities are carried out by their employees. When you fail to coordinate stuff between departments and whatever, you'll end up with too much stock in one place and manufacturing doesn't need it, or manufacturing changed their plans and it turns out all that inventory you just bought is worthless. Yeah, so a lot of wasted time and effort. The definition of division of labor is dividing up the tasks. It's that simple. You know, you have welders, you have secretaries, things like that. Departmentalization is just grouping jobs and employees that are logically together. So you may have like doctors are in one group, nurses in another group, hospital administration in another. And delegation, assigning authority and responsibilities. This is the end of the first half of the management functions. This is the end of part 2A. I broke this up into 2A and 2B because it was just getting too long. Next, we'll be moving on to leading. Okay, so let's get on to that video.